welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own. Y'all, it's an exciting time. And I'm not going to keep telling y'all every show how happy I am to be able to talk to so many candidates from across the state, because I really am. But here's the thing. Now, I'm sharing with y'all all of these candidates. I'm giving you all the information you need to find out about who these candidates are so that you volunteer, someone who wants to fight for democracy can get involved. Pick out one. We don't care. We don't mind. There's so many to choose from. Pick out one. Donate, knock doors, volunteer. But whatever you do, get involved. So today I'm really excited because I get to talk to another candidate running for office. Y'all give it up for Kate Robbins, who is running for House District 31. Kate, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
And I'm sorry, it's Katie, and that's the way you have.
Katie,
yes.
That's fine. My government name is Caitlin, so I'm used to
government name
variations of it.
Not the government.
The government name.
I love it. So tell the people who you are and where you come from.
So I am Katie Robbins. I live in Marion, Indiana. So I'm running for House District 31, which is pretty much all of Grant County. And just like minus a little bit of a teeny tiny town named Swayze. And then a little bit of Madison County, like the rural part of Madison County, like the very end of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm running for House District 31. I'm a nurse. I'm a mom. My son is 6 years old. He'll be 7 in like 8 days. So I'm super excited. He's going to have a bowling birthday party, and we're so excited. So yeah, that's really
okay.
it.
Well, I gotta know, what is it or what has happened in your life that made you say, I'm going to put my name on a ballot?
Yeah, so I never was politically active when I turned 18 in 2015, I think. Oh. So I voted for my first time.
Thank you for dating me. I appreciate you.
I voted for my first time like in 2016. So I voted for my first time then. And after that, I never really paid attention other than just like the headlines that I kept seeing. But it was in 2020 when I was working during COVID as an ICU nurse that really made me like flip my switch to kind of see how much the government like plays a part in the healthcare system and how often it falls so short and doesn't do what it is supposed to do, which is care for people. So that kind of flipped made me start getting into politics to where I started just following elections and stuff. And then I'd watch legislative sessions on C-SPAN or from the State House. I'd watch them for fun.
Me too. I'm a junkie. I would have it on.
It's horrible. I'm so bad about it. That's like one of the first things I check in the morning is C-SPAN when the State House is out of session.
Yeah. Because I was
the General Assembly.
I watch the General Assembly sessions. It's on every day. I try to, and then I get distracted because I'm flipping through which committee is doing what. Oh my God! I'm so glad to meet another political junkie. Yay!
It's so I know. I'm like I will walk around my house with one AirPod in and just listen to the General Assembly do their business. And the one thing I don't like is how long it takes. You can't like rewind live streams on the webs on the state website. Whereas in C-SPAN, I'm always going back. I'm like, oh, okay, let me look for something that looks interesting here. When because sometimes they are just in a quorum call for so long and or a vote is open forever. So that kind of started a few years ago, but COVID really is what opened my eyes to kind of the government and just the ways that it is sorely lacking in providing for people. And redistricting is really what made me what pushed me. Cause I was like, maybe one day I'd run for office. I'm not entirely sure. My mom would make jokes about it all the time. She would be like, I'm retiring, so then you can go to DC and then I can just be your babysitter. And I'm like, Mom, like we're not thinking about that. But redistricting really, really kind of is what was my big catalyst. I was like, okay, I'm going to put my name on the ballot. I'm going to do it. And I'm doing it now because why not? Like, it frustrated me so much that they went out of their way to redistrict the maps because of Donald Trump. And they did not, at least my representation, like my representative and my state senator, they voted for it. And that kind of was like, okay, we got to do something different. The seat has been uncontested for 8 years.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad you're stepping up. I want to ask you a question though. Tell us what made you want to be a nurse, and then share with us some of the things that you saw, because like I was locked in my house. I was very fortunate that I didn't get COVID until after I got my shot. Right. The first round of shots. So I was very fortunate to be able to work from home. I didn't have to go out. And when I did, it was just for groceries. Right. So tell us what made you want to be a nurse. And then what did you see? Because you were one of those folks that had to go out.
Yeah. So I graduated nursing school in 2019, in December of 2019. So I started my big girl job January of 2020.
Wow.
So that was my introduction into nursing. I had been in healthcare for a few years before that, but working as a tech, and I wasn't strictly in the ICU. I worked all throughout the hospital, and I started immediately as a nurse in ICU.
Wow.
And it was a very, I don't even have words to truly describe it. It changed me as a person. That time working in the ICU changed me as a person. My dad tells me all the time, he's like, you're not, nursing has kind of made you a little bit jaded or a little bit cynical. And I'm like, Dad, how can I not be? Like, I have seen some of the most, anything you can think of, I've probably seen or dealt with or was a part of with COVID. I mean, flipping people on their bellies, just stuff that, people saying goodbye through Windows, Zoom. That was a way that, people were able to see their loved ones during that first real big wave. As time went on, it started to get a little bit more lax with the isolation precautions and stuff. So people were able to actually go into the rooms once they put on the right, like PPE and stuff. But yeah, so I wanted to become a nurse because my dad, he has a lot of health problems, has a lot of back issues, neck issues, spine issues. So I have been helping take care of him since I was probably like 12.
Oh, wow.
He had, I think he's had 3 lower back procedures and 2 neck procedures where his bone is like hard as a rock. It's completely calcified. He's had so many like laminectomies where they go in and shave part of that off, and there's nothing they can do for him with it. So very thankful my dad is still alive and still with me, and I'm able to enjoy, my adult years with him. But yeah, so my dad, I remember when he had a surgery when I was a kid, I don't remember what grade I was in. I would help him stand up out of his chair. I would change his bandage, and I've been doing that like my entire life. It feels like, I still do it now. I take him to all the doctor's appointments. I fill his he's not with me. He was staying with me for about 6 months, 5 months. But I did all of his medicines. I make his lists out. He's kind of what like pushed me to do it, because it feels like a second nature to me, kind of, I guess, just because I have dealt with it with my dad. So yeah, that's kind of what did it and what really made me say, okay, I'm going to go into healthcare. And my grandpa had a stroke when I was a senior in high school, and that he was like one of those people who got up at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning, and he built everything, and the stroke completely changed him. He was able to speak after that. He was still able to get around and stuff, but not like he did. And so I would go up every day when I got out of school, and he was in Muncie and I was living in Kokomo at the time. And I would drive to Muncie pretty much every day, like my senior year of high school, and just sit in the hospital with him. But yeah, so those two people are kind of what pushed me to do it. And I wouldn't trade my career for
Mm-hmm.
anything. I love it. I love taking care of people. I truly think it's like an honor to take care of people, especially my experience with ICU and stuff, because that's usually, it's not a good time when you meet an ICU nurse.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
um, I hope that I am able to make that experience better for families and patients, because it's scary. And I've been on the other side of it as a family member. And, having a good nurse like makes or breaks anything. And that's like one thing I go into every shift as, and that's what has kept me coming back for 6 years is the
love the
people.
story. I love that story because let me tell you something. Being a caregiver is never easy. I had to partially do it with my mom. I was fortunate enough that I had two aunts that also helped participate. My dad was there, but not as much. And then I was my father's full-time caregiver towards the end of his life, and people don't realize what it takes, the emotional toll, the physical toll, the mental toll on caring for people. And here you took that and said, okay, I'm gonna make a career out of it because you saw the value in being of service to people. I'm already falling in love with you. It's a wrap. I'm gonna be a fan. Now
yeah, that's really kind of what the basis, how I've tried to live my entire life. Like, I view all people as valuable no matter where they come from. And being in healthcare, like, you see people from all types and walks of life. And just like having somebody that they can confide in and like understand that they genuinely care. I've never like not genuinely cared about my patients. And that's something I mean, like, to everything. Like, I've never not genuinely cared about making them better. And that is what has kept me coming back for 6 years.
See, and now I need someone like you to be in the State House writing policies. So, you're in it, right? You're in the thick of the healthcare. You know the healthcare crisis. You've seen it from an internal place. Talk about some of the things that, you would like to see when it comes to how government manages healthcare that we could be doing differently.
Yeah, there are. I personally, which this is at the federal level. So, anybody who supports like Medicare for all, I am full, like 10 toes down on that. I will stand with you for that. I think that's 10 toes. I am standing with you because we need something like that. The insurance companies have gotten to the point where, somebody sitting behind a desk can deny medications that a physician who went to school, medical school, residency, that is specialized in, they will just deny it and not even have the same level. Like, I've had the conversation with my dad's primary care doctor. He has that issue. He runs into that issue all the time. And him and I, it's like my soapbox, because I'm like, something has got to give. Like, so many people are uninsured as it is. So something's got to give there. And, I think another thing that needs addressed is we have a healthcare monopoly with some of our healthcare systems, and
like
I
IU
think
Health
that
and Ascension.
IU Health,
Yep. I'll name them for you.
I may or may not work at one of them, but just know I gotta put a roof over my baby's head.
Right. I got you. You got it, because you got to. That's why I work at Act Blue, so I can say all the things that I need to say and still pay my mortgage. So you do what you got to do, sis.
Yeah. Thank you. So I think we have a problem with that gets overlooked quite often. It doesn't help that the State House has tried to basically reenact like the One Big Beautiful Bill with our state level stuff. To me, it's just, why? Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that to people? And that, that's the thing. It's greed. It's money. And I was just talking to somebody about this today. Like, it all goes back to money. Like, it all goes back to money and the policy that gets put into place, or the lack of policy that gets put into place, that doesn't address the root problem. The root problem is the fact that we have, these big corporations that have taken up something that is a public good not,
A public
it's just
need.
been
A public
privatized, a public
need.
need. That's one of the things I always say. I say, you know, cancer doesn't discriminate, heart attacks don't discriminate, and strokes don't discriminate. It doesn't matter who you are, and you should be able to have access to the right care at all times. And you know, we in nursing in general, I'll tell you right now, nurses make significantly less in Indiana than our neighboring states.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, we do. The last, now, unless it's changed, I know that some of the numbers that I've been seeing, it wasn't the same of when I looked up the data last year, but last year nurses made $20,000 less on average compared to like the national nursing salary, which is absolute crazy, because I can cross state lines into Ohio and the job is still the same, or, you know, Chicago, and the job is still the same. The job doesn't change. Nurses and teachers should be making no less than $100,000 a year is what I stand on as well, because that is the amount of the physical toll in general. It takes me a whole day to recover. If I work, you know, all my shifts in a row, it takes me an entire day to recover. And with teachers too, like, you know, they deal with having to buy their own school supplies. So anywho, sorry, getting off on a tangent.
And I love it.
But it is.
I love that you actually put teachers and nurses together, because there's a significant piece that binds them. Those are majority women professions. And we as a society, especially here in Indiana, discount women at every turn. So I'm glad you actually drew that line between nurses and teachers. And why is it that we want to treat, because listen, that nuclear family mess, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my.
Like, bro, stop it. Like, not every chick is going to have, and I know I'm not supposed to say that, not every woman is going to have a dude who's out here making, you know, 6 figures to take care of the family. You got to be, this nonsense, man.
It is. It is just, I don't have words for some of the hatred and the homophobia and the misogyny that comes out of our governor and lieutenant governor. And it's really, it's foul. I don't understand. Families come in all different shapes and sizes. I'm a single mother. I've raised my son on my own his entire life. It's just been me and him and my parents, my friends. Like, I have a village. I have a village, and they make up my family. But just because, like, he doesn't have his dad around, I don't have a husband, like, that doesn't make us less of a family than my nuclear family was that I came from. You know, all families are different. And for, you know, the governor to go out of his way to do that was just, I was like, you know, I think they can't go any lower. And they go even further, so much so that they're literally in hell. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, Micah Beckwith, that guy talking about it's okay to hate again. What the heck?
What? That is the absolute insanity. I still cannot get over the stuff that he was saying about people in our community, in our state, Hoosiers, like people, everyday people who are just trying to exist like almost everybody else is. And the fact that, you know, our highest governing officials have gone out of their way to be so discriminatory and hateful, and it's sickening. And I just don't.
Yeah, and
I have a lot of work.
You know, and that's why I'm excited that such a you're a young person, and you know, you have said, you know what, I'm a leader. Right. I'm not waiting on somebody to tell me I'm a leader. I'm going to do what needs to be done because I see it needs to be done. Where did that fortitude come from?
Honestly, I think it has been my time working as a nurse.
Okay.
That's where I have gotten my most leadership from. I, as a personal person, I am I don't like confrontation. I don't like that stuff at all. But I have had to be faced with that in leadership roles in nursing. Like I did rapid response where I was in charge of every emergency in the hospital for an entire weekend. And like being a charge nurse and stuff, that stuff really kind of helped with that. But I was raised by my dad. My parents got divorced when I was 14. My mom was still around, but I lived with my dad. And so I was raised by him pretty much. And he was on fixed income. He was on disability because of all of his issues. And I was told from the time that I have worked since I was 14 years old. I started babysitting. I got my first job at Marsh. Like it was the supermarket Marsh. I went to Meijer after that. Like I have worked since I was in high school. And because my dad told me at a young age, like when he bought me a car, he saved up for an entire year to buy me a car. And he told me, he said, I'll buy you the car, but you have to work to
take care of it and put the gas in it.
Put the gas in it, pay the insurance and you know, the upkeep. And that was our agreement. And that was what kind of like I had to work. And I've always lived with that mindset. And my dad has always told me, you know, as my time has gone on in being a nurse and stuff, my dad has been admitted in the hospital that I work at now and I started out at. And he talks to all the doctors and you know, as time has gone on in being a nurse, I've learned to be a good nurse. And like, I really think I'm a nurse that I would want taking care of my loved ones. Because I treat patients like they're my loved ones. I treat people's family member like they're my family. And so I think kind of just that drive that my dad has always instilled in me, like, you need to work, you need to be you need to work your hardest, and you need to be who you are as a person, and everything else is going to fall into place. And that's kind of what
I love it.
I have no other choice. And and you know, I have a 6-year-old and I want better for him. Like that's my number one motivating factor is I want my kid to have I love Indiana. I love this state so much. And I want my kid to grow up and love it just as much as I did. And I think that you need people who understand that in the state house making decisions.
Yeah, I agree. So we got to talk about a little bit of policy. And I haven't really had a chance to talk as much about this particular subject with a lot of my candidates, because this is what happens. I find out what they do and I want to hear more about them. And you know, because I think it's just as important to know who the person is that you're voting for and not just their policy positions, because as Democrats, we're pretty much aligned, right? There's little few things that may separate us, but not much. But as a young person, we are seeing, you know, the data centers, the wetlands, and keeping open coal plants. We see that this current administration doesn't give two wits about our environment. And as a young person watching these old Kaisers, you know, these old geezers, passing legislation that is harmful to the air quality in Indiana, the water quality in Indiana. What do you think about as a young person and where you would be? Because you said you turned 18 and 15. You turned 18 and
yes, yeah.
I was on the ballot at 46 in 2016.
That's amazing.
So
that is awesome.
So I'm an old lady in comparison. And we've been hearing about climate change since I was in high school, but back in the 1980s. I know that was a whole century ago. But when you think about it, how do you feel we are treating the environment, and how would you like to see us move differently?
Yeah, I have a lot of feelings about climate change. One, I have a science degree. Like, I believe in the science of what has come out about it. And I also grew up, like I told you, my dad raised me. My dad, his brain was eaten by Glenn Beck at some point in his life because for the longest time, I had to basically like rewire my brain once I kind of became more of an adult. As a more aware. And because just some of the things, I mean, I'd hear him say, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what? And so, like, even then, like, I wasn't taught these things. Like, I wasn't taught about climate change. Like, my parents didn't. My dad recycled, and that was probably the cleanest thing he's ever done. Other than that, I mean, he didn't really, you know, care too much about the environment, which is very frustrating for me because hello, I would like to have clean drinking water. Like, what? Why are you like not understanding the science that's coming out? But yeah, so I watched a really good documentary about it. I think it was the White House Effect on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically go through all of the propaganda that was started basically in the 80s about climate change being a hoax, because the data's there, the science is there, and what humans are doing is contributing to climate change. And I think there are ways that we can make that better as a whole, as a collective. But yeah, so I think we should absolutely do things to put, I mean, last legislative session, they stripped IDEM
Yes.
of their, and we don't have the federal government to save us. We don't have the federal government to come in and say, these are the rules.
And that's the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, for those that aren't familiar with IDEM. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that, I think that all, I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I mean, I don't understand the right terminology of everything yet, but we should have to put those protections back in place. Like, we don't have the EPA to cover us. So that needs to be addressed, because one, we all have to breathe the air and we all have to drink the water. Like, why are you guys, the legislative body, doing this? And so it's very frustrating for me, because I am 29 years old. And I mean, my dad is 70. He still goes on about, when I say, Dad, the ice caps are melting. Or if I tell him something, he's like, climate change is a hoax. And I'm like, dude, science is not. Science is real. Like, science is black and white.
I'm going to tell you what to tell him. I'm going to tell you what to tell him. Insurance companies, a lot of insurance companies have pulled out of Florida because they know that the sea levels are rising and the storms are getting worse. The insurance companies are the canary in the coal mine. Now, because insurance companies going to make money. That's all they care about, making. Oh, no.
Yeah, that's all they care about.
That's all they care about. So they're like, yeah, no, we're not insuring none of y'all. Like, because they know Florida's going to keep getting those hurricanes and storms are going to be worse and worse. So that's your talking point for your daddy. Say, well, Daddy, why they pulling out?
Yeah. Yeah. And even like that, like with FEMA. Yeah. FEMA took forever to address North Carolina. Yeah. We're going to be in severe storms tonight. Like, what do you think is going to happen to us if we need those services and, we're not able to get them because of stupid decisions made by the federal government, which is a whole other thing. But I think that's something we need to do. We need to put back environmental protections and redo whatever they did to mess up IDEM. And I think there needs to be a moratorium on data centers, to be completely honest. Okay. And I say this as, like, I'm not anti, I mean, I know we all use data. I get that. Like, I know everybody uses AI. AI is put into literally everything. It's put into everything. So I get that. But at what point do you see the harms that it's doing and realize, like, you don't have to put businesses first. Like, you should be putting people first and the interests of the people that live there. And just how much money that these companies have, like, skated out on because of tax breaks and exemptions, and that something's got to be done about that. Like, that's so much. What was it, like $656 million or $1 billion? I think it was million. I always get those two mixed up. Anything over $1,000 is a lot of money.
Because our brains can't conceive it, right? We're like, what the hell? Like, we're just trying to get through it.
And I was like, what?
It's crazy. It's crazy. And then, you just said you were a single mom. You have a 6-year-old. You talk about these data centers and you talk about businesses getting breaks, but then they turn around and gut small businesses by cutting the vouchers for childcare. I know you have to find childcare because from what I know, most nurses, they sometimes work 12-hour shifts. Is that kind of? So I imagine for you, you have a 6-year-old, so all day school, it just became a thing, right? And what are your thoughts on cutting of the vouchers and how do you find daycare? Like, my goodness.
I am very fortunate. For about 2.5 years, I worked weekend option. And so I only worked Saturdays and Sundays, but still made the money as if because full time as a nurse is 3/12s, so
Okay.
36 hours. Um, and then people be like, "Oh, only work 3 days." Like, I've not gone through
Three
hell
12-hour
working
days? Are you
12.
kidding me? I couldn't do it.
You do like 6 in a row and knock it out, but then you have 8 days off afterwards. And I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
My brain is too broken for that at this point. But yeah, so I was very fortunate to work weekend options. So I didn't have to get childcare during the week. I was able to get my son on and off of the bus and get him to everywhere. For a while, I did work every Friday, and I got it set up with our local YMCA because they do busing from schools to the Y.
Wow.
And they normally don't do part-time kids. It was like, I only need one day. Is there any way he can come this one day?
Right.
And so they gave me a deal and just let me pay for the one day. And they normally do just full time. And so I was able to do that with my son for those days or those months that I worked Fridays. And then I cut down to Saturdays and Sundays because I was getting so burnt out working that I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I was fortunate to get my son on and off the bus. I'm fortunate my mom was a bus driver and she's also my neighbor.
Right.
So I was like, it was a win-win. Mom was off all summer. So I never had to worry about,
the other stuff.
Finding something for him like during the summer. But also she was off every weekend because she never worked weekends. She was a bus driver. So I was able to utilize my family to help me out, my dad. And then I switched jobs, and my dad had been staying with me from December to May because he had gotten discharged from the hospital in December and he had just never gone home. So basically moved in for 5 months. And he, when I started my new job and I was working during the week, he would get my son on and off of the bus for me.
Nice.
And my son would just go back and forth between my house and my mom's house.
What would you have done if you didn't have that? I mean,
I genuinely don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's what I really think most people who have never, because I worked, but when my son, before it was time for him to go to school, he went to a preschool, and I kind of was able to work around my schedule then because I would work almost every weekend. I started it probably like 2 or 3 years ago, but I had because Indiana Wesleyan is in Marion. And so
I'm a graduate.
I had, okay, look at you. I love that. I love that little campus. It's so pretty there. But Indiana Wesleyan, I worked with this girl at the hospital that I used to work at before I moved here. And she was a nursing school student and needed just something to make money. So she would come over to my house every morning that I worked. I would give her my schedule in advance. And she would come to my house every morning that I worked, and then would take my son to preschool and pick him up and hang out with him until my mom got home. And he would go hang out with my mom, or she'd stay here till I got off work. So found her. I mean, it was quite a bit of money, but still I was able to find her. But that was really just about it. Everything else didn't open up early enough for me to take my son to before school or before I had to go to work. And so that's a problem I ran into a lot before I moved to Marion, because I moved here about 4 years ago. I don't know. And before that, he had a babysitter that he went to from the time he was 9 months old until he was 3, I think. So she took him, and I would take him over there.
Were there any daycare centers in your area, or were they just kind of, no?
No, I mean, daycare centers, yes, but none that worked for the time, like my schedule.
Got it.
Hours.
Yeah,
so that was the problem.
Of operation, yeah.
Yeah. And so they would be like 9 to 5, 9 to 4. And really before one of my best friends, she actually would pick up my son, because my babysitter would usually be done at 5. And one of my best friends, she would pick up my son and take him home to my house for me and feed him dinner and hang out with him until I got off work at 7:30. But that was the biggest hurdle, was running into that. And honestly, I would have to get out of working in the hospital. I would have to work like a regular, like outpatient job probably.
So what do you think about folks now where, like, they cut the vouchers And a lot of the daycares, I have a sister, a best, you had chosen family, so I call her my sister.
Yes.
She had a daycare center, and because they cut those vouchers, she lost her business because she couldn't cover the operating expenses.
Yeah,
You said, yeah, you're there.
Okay. I was like, something just changed on my screen. But that's something that I think that voucher program has to be completely and fully like back and stated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to have childcare centers.
Right.
You have to have childcare centers for people to be able to work. Most people work these days. Like most people don't have the luxury of not having to go and punch
Mm-hmm.
a like time clock every day. And it's just taking away resources from people who genuinely need them.
Yeah.
And then they give tax breaks to these big corporations. And it's just it's a slap in the face to every taxpayer.
Yeah.
And so I think the vouchers need to be back reinstated. So childcare, I mean, so many childcare centers have already had to close because of what Mike Braun and the legislature has done to the vouchers. So it's like, what else are they going to do to working class people? What can you do? Yeah, like literally, like you can't. Just in general, it is so hard to exist these days, and a dignified life should not be something that is only reserved for certain people. Everybody should have the right to dignified life, and I don't know when and where, and I think it's been happening like slowly over time in Indiana, but like everybody deserves that. And it's very frustrating when lawmakers don't hold that same belief. And if they do hold the same belief, they don't really vote and, legislate that way. They do things without even thinking about the real world consequences that everybody has to face.
I love it. I think that is a great way to kind of end this because, you shared. First of all, I got to say, this was a fun conversation because I just got to know you. I got to find out what motivates you, what fuels you, what excites you, what gets you going and the things that you care about. And I think all the things that you care about internally are the traits and the skills that we need to write policy. And you running for the State House. I'm tipping my hat to you because I'm glad that you are finding time, being a nurse, being a mom, a single mom, and a caregiver, all the things, and still want to serve the rest of Indiana and your district. And I got to tell you, I'm excited. District 31, you got a candidate that's going to work for you. And if you didn't pick that up in this conversation, listen to it again. Now, Katie, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook at Katie Robbins for Indiana. 1B, Robbins only has 1B in it. And so I always try to tell people it's got 1B, or my website is katierobbinsforindiana.com.
I love it. You are absolutely a breath of fresh air. I love your energy. I love that. I just love how selfless you are. That's the thing that makes me, because you have to be incredibly selfless to be a good mother. You have to be incredibly selfless to be a good daughter. And you have to be incredibly selfless to be a good nurse and caregiver. So I want you to know that I see all those things in you, and hopefully our listeners will too. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Right. Thank you, Dana. I had so much fun. Thank you so much.
I love it. And listen, guys, I'm going to do what she didn't do. And that's okay, because sometimes our first time candidates, they don't remember to do all the things when they're having a conversation. Okay. So, and this is why we do Turn Left, right? Because we have first time candidates that don't always know to make that ask. Look, her Act Blue donate link is right there. If you want somebody that's going to work for you, if you want somebody that's going to care about your well-being and believes that your humanity matters, please help Katie, right? I'm begging. Yes, I am. Because listen, we've had enough people write policies based on short-term gains. We've had enough people write policy not thinking about the future. And at 29 years old, she's our present, and her 6-year-old is our future. And she is looking for ways to protect all of us in this work. So guys, click her donate link, Go to her website, sign up to be a volunteer, find ways to help this young woman get across the finish line. Because now, here's the other thing. I hear too many of y'all, talking about we need change. Well, nothing says change like a 29-year-old nurse who is a mom and a caregiver. That's change. So if you're serious about change, click on the donate link. Go to her website and help her out. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm Indiana's own Dana Black. Turn left. I will holler at y'all next time. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions, executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by Dorian and 22 from Pixabay.